All right, welcome back, Ian. Today, I'm so grateful to have you here. We are going to go deep dive into planning, and specifically weekly planning, and the process that you have to do in order to get your week down right, so that you know exactly what to do throughout the whole week and you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off. Now, this is something that I've struggled with pretty much my whole real estate career, but when I take the time to sit down and actually spend about, an hour to 90 minutes every Sunday to really put down and think about what are the things that I was able to do last week and what are the things that I need to do this week, right? So it's a little bit of both. You take a little bit of gratitude, you take a little bit of planning, and a little bit about what are the things that you have to get accomplished, and about a little bit about the things that you want or need to get done in order to grow your business and expand. So today again, I'm here with my good friend Ian Bennett, and he is definitely one of the experts there is in weekly planning and quarterly planning. So let's get started. Ian, tell me, what are the steps or some of the things that you like to do for your weekly planning process?
Great question. Thanks for having me, man. Well, let me first say that I am naturally extremely disorganized.
Yes.
I'm naturally, I have a high attention span for things that aren't important. You can call that a lot of different things, but definitely, if we didn't have the shades drawn in this room, I'd be looking for squirrels outside. So by no means do I have natural talent or ability to concentrate and plan. I am lucky that my brain does work in a very picture and what's the word you use, like that mind map that we were talking about?
Yes. Yeah, the mind meister, mind maps,
Yeah.
scatter.
Right.
Scatter
So good and bad, right? So I've learned to harness that. So I've worked with a lot of great coaches and mentors, and over the years, I've distilled things down. Everyone has a different process. I personally believe if I can think about my week as a project, and then I can break it down into the pieces that are important. So for me, and I learned a lot of this from my good buddy, Dr. Bruce. For me, I really focus on the mental component of mapping out what my week's going to look like from a dominant focus. So working on the business, and then from a prospecting standpoint. So
Okay.
I believe that operations is the key to a successful transaction.
Right.
However, it's really important for me as a natural hunter-gatherer, if you will, to go out and make the phone ring. So I break it down. I look at what my dominant focus is going to be, and I do sort of a mind map around that. So in the center of my mind map is what I want to get accomplished. So this week, I'm working specifically with HomeBot. HomeBot, for those of you who are tuning in, is, I believe, a tremendous, very cost-effective way to partner with a lender to cultivate your new leads, but also your existing database. As we know, we can mine gold in our backyard, so to speak, using our database and our CRM. So I'm focusing specifically on two things this week. One's going to be HomeBot and utilizing it, and the other is going to be event planning. Nice. So part of my weekly planning is yearly planning, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to focus on, and if you want, I can go granular on this and kind of go through what I did this morning. It took me about 45 minutes. So I made that mental map, and I can dig into that component. Then I think about, sort of intention, as well as the overall dominant focus and the intention, but also sort of from a spiritual or a mental standpoint, like what's my mindfulness going into the week? What is the thing that's going to drive me through the week, my purpose?
Yeah.
And then the other part is, who am I going to reach out to? Now, you made a really good point, Ryan, which is I start with looking back at last week and what did I get accomplished? How did I feel about it? I kind of pump myself up. Like, hey, man, you're making that 1% change each week. And that's the thing, is we're just trying to take small little bites. So I look at, who did I reach out to? What was my success of reaching out to them? When they responded, was it text, email? So I do go somewhat granular. Mm-hmm. And then I put those same folks on my prospecting list for the next week.
All right.
So those are people I'm going to continue to stay in flow with, or stay top of mind, or omnipresence, all the different words you can use for it. Mm-hmm. And I put them on my list. And then I also have the targets of who I want to continue to work with that are on my sort of aspirational list of whether it's partnering with real estate agents or builders or what have you. So those are on there. And in my opinion, I need to have somewhere between 5 and 10 new people that I'm prospecting. So that can be business partners for me as a lender. That's going to be real estate agents, B2B. But I also have my consumer, right? So the people that you're hopping in the car and you're showing, or the people that showed interest in your your call to action, your lead campaigns. So there's that prospecting component. The mental map for me, I know that I need to shoot at least one video every single day next week that I can put into, in this case, it's HomeBot that I'm using, but whatever my marketing campaigns are, my drip campaigns. So instead of trying to do all 7 in one day, I'm just going to do one each day. I've lined out what they're going to be. I have the basic scripts of what I think I want to cover. You can practice them or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then the other part is, so I have that as a box next to my dominant focus. And then who's going to be involved? Who's going to help me? So Katie on my team is accountability when it comes to these two things. So I'm going to make sure that I wrote down what I'm doing this week and I sent it to her. Nice. So she's expecting me to do it. So now I have that accountability. Now the other part is events. For us, we're really big into 3 types of events. We do educational events, we do fun events, and then we do always some sort of philanthropy in the community. And we're going to plan, we've taken some time to figure out how we want those to work throughout the year. So what we're going to focus on is first quarter. We're at the end of the fourth quarter of this year. So we're focusing on first quarter of next year, which is 3 months, obviously 12 weeks, and breaking it down and putting intention into that and setting that. Now, we're not going to deep dive into all that. We just need to move that one little bit. And we were talking about this earlier, Ryan, which is taking a little bit at a time. Right. And we had this conversation before we hopped on here about, it's as simple as if you make a 1% improvement each day, that if you do that for 365 days, now not everyone's going to do it perfectly every day, right. But let's just say hypothetically, at the end of a year, if you've made improvement 1% every day for 365 days, you're 365% better than you were when you started.
Absolutely.
Conversely, if you don't make that 1%, then one would argue, oh, I'm just staying the same, but really you're going backwards.
Yeah.
So if you don't for 365 days make that 1% increase, you're making a decrease, which means you're 365% worse than you were the year before. There's no way to make that up the next year. And that's what a lot of folks get stuck with, is the planning. It's simply sit down, write the goals, come up with a plan, and go as granular or as big as you want, but make it digestible. Yeah. And the other thing we were talking about is, I believe it's Benjamin Franklin, and this stuck with me, is your failure to plan is actually a plan to fail.
Yep, absolutely.
So, I mean, maybe give me your feedback on that.
So that's one of the biggest things that I like to do is, really think about that and concentrate on that. So if I'm failing to plan, then I'm planning to fail, right? So one of the things that we like to do is really, that big rock method. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Absolutely.
Right. And I need to get my big glass jar and do this demonstration for people because sometimes it's hard to see. But really it was a professor or a student, science person, I guess, came up and put 3 big rocks in a jar. And, as the 3 big rocks came to the top, and the professor asked the class, hey, is this full? And the students were like, yes, that's full. Can't get any more of them big rocks in there. Yep. So then he poured, a bunch of gravel in there. And it got all the way full to the top. And he's like, yeah, all right, now is this full? And they're like, oh, of course it's full. You can't get anything else in there. And then he poured sand in there. And then, of course, oh my gosh, and then that gets in there. And then what happened? Is that full? And then he poured water in there. And so then you get water in there. And so now you can have all those things in there. And, the water is the stuff that's going to happen. No matter what, you're going to get a flat tire. You're going to, answer an email. You're going to eat. You're not going to starve to death. You're going to drink a glass of water. You don't need to really schedule that, right? And then, the little gravel, that's all the day-to-day tactical things that you're doing with your business. Like, oh, I got to write this contract. I got to show this property. I got to do this stuff. You know what? You're going to do that no matter what happens, right? But it's where you do those things. And so we like to focus on 3 big rocks per quarter, right? And then we kind of even break it down into just, okay, here's the 3 big rocks that I want to get done. But then I put them in order, and I only focus on one at a time.
Yep.
Right? So one big rock. And so I'm going to hit that rock every single day until I get my systems and everything in place in order to get that rock done. So when I start my week, that's what I do is I pull out that big rock and I'm like, here's the things that I need to do this week in order to get that thing taken care of. Production is a big thing for real estate agents and for lenders. So like this week, biggest thing we're going to do is we're going to build out our follow-up campaigns for our new construction funnel. What that means is we're going to go and we're going to shoot about 8 different videos in the different markets and the different, custom builders, that Ian's the preferred lender with. So we're going to really knock those out of the park so that, people from out of state or that are looking can really dive into that. So that's one of the biggest things that we have to do this week, but that's like a big rock. So that's going to move us closer to our production goals, right? And our follow-up goals. So those are the things that we, on our weekly checklist, here's the things that we're going to do. What did I do last week for those? Then I'm like, oh, we went to an event. We did these. We, put all the stuff together. So we reviewed that today and then just laid out our week. So here's what we're going to do. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, we're shooting videos. Thursdays, I can't remember. I wrote it down though, so that's why. You always yeah, that's why you always write things down so you can look back and go, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing this week, right? So, and that's just the way my brain works. Mine's like, okay, here's the biggest thing that I got to get done.
Yeah, and the other part that I think is really important that a lot of the people that I associate with who are coming up and trying to learn, they sometimes forget about themselves.
Yes.
And in my personal opinion, scheduling mindful breaks for yourself, whether that's exercise, food, or just like a mental break, is imperative. And what I found in the 16 years that I've been in at least in the housing market, I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, at least 20 plus years, is the folks that have the most discipline, the most schedule, have the most freedom. They also happen to be the folks that tend to be in the best health. And they tend to have even energy and understand how and when to use their energy and who to give it to. And the biggest component that I see in success right now, that's even for people who are uber wealthy and successful, is their personal health. And could be a whole different conversation. Absolutely. But what I do want to recommend is when you're planning, plan for your mental and physical health, because you are the best asset that you have. And you can build every single funnel and drive everyone and to the showings and have all the closings and all the money. But if you don't have health, you're not going to be able to withstand that and maintain it.
Absolutely.
And it's super cliche, but I promise you, if you take care of yourself first in the morning and get whatever that exercise is out of your way. And I was sharing with Ryan a few years ago, I was 285 pounds. It was probably closer to 290. So 300 pounds for a 6'1" guy. It's pretty husky.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly a thin fellow now. I started with just walking. And again, I don't want to harp too much on this, but I do know that it made a huge difference in my life to be able to have a routine of exercise. Now, where I'm at 3 years later, I love it. It completes my day. It starts my day, completes my day. I bookend my day with it. I have more time than I've ever had. I have more energy. And then now that I've started to build a team, because I was a solopreneur forever.
Yeah.
Once I started building a team, we have breaks from meetings. Well, I'll go for a walk. And let me tell you, there is nothing better than break from a meeting is go from a walk with the people that you're with. And maybe sometimes you just kind of work through that stuff and you're moving forward. You don't get stuck on the whiteboard or in the planning phase. So what I personally do is I wake up on a Sunday. I have a family, so I spend some time with the family. A good cup of coffee about an hour and 20 minutes after I wake up never hurts. I set out all my planning stuff. I might do a tiny bit of planning. I get outside. For me, that's a hike. When I come back, I'm energized. I've thought of everything that I need to do. Typically for me, when I'm exercising or when I'm enjoying something or trying to go to sleep, that's one of the most productive in my head I am. And then I write those things down and I organize them. And what I've done is I found, I have coaches, obviously mentors, accountability partner, and I write down what I'm going to do. And every single day I text message that to my accountability partner.
Yep. That's
and
brilliant.
It doesn't matter who it is. It could be your dog. I don't care who it is. You can write it down and hand it to someone just that you know that you have that commitment to you and to them.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, I've been back to my power list of 5 things that I do every single day with no excuse. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I write a W or an L. I either won the day or lost the day.
Nice.
And I'll tell you, you'll have losses. You'll take an L, so to speak, but the more W's you stack up, the more those 1% start to stack up. I'm on a roll right now. I'm on day 7 without breaking that chain.
Nice.
Where everything's just perfectly working. It's been hard. I was doing some of the habits I needed to do last night, 10 minutes before midnight to get them done in that day. But that discipline, it creates this external component of when you plan that the universe or whatever you believe in, it brings that into your life. So when you say you're going to do X, Y, and Z this week and you stick to it, even if it's 80%,
yep,
it's just a huge feeling of accomplishment.
Absolutely. And that's where you really, one of the biggest things in order to keep growth going, though, right?
Absolutely.
Is as entrepreneurs and as, people that are independent, agents and brokers trying to make this stuff happen, what are your wins, right? So like Dan Sullivan, he, one of my great coaches, mentors, basically The Gap and the Gain, that book that he wrote, it's like most entrepreneurs spend their life in the gap, in that gap, right? They're thinking, oh, I didn't get this done. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And they beat themselves up so much. Well, that really stops you and prevents you from going and growing forward. So if you can look back and take that day, at least 5 minutes a day, and just do, what and live in that game, what are the things that I did accomplish? What are the things that I am doing right? Those are the things that are going to help propel you and let you know that, yes, you are winning. Keep it up. Keep going. Keep finding that, unique purpose that you have in your life, Hal Elrod or whatever. I think, Miracle Morning. That's another thing that we like to do.
Absolutely.
Wake up in the morning, meditate, read, work out, journal, all those things, right? And drink water. 75 hard really helped me with that.
Absolutely.
And I know you're doing your second one right now.
Third one
right now.
Yeah, so I do them every winter.
Every winter.
Yeah, which is... It's brutal, right?
Great time to do them.
I mean, it's hard. We live in Colorado where it's cold. We do have a lot of sun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the struggle, that's what I'm learning. Like the hardest things to do are typically the things we need to do.
Yeah.
And all this is cliche. None of this is brand new. There's millions of books. There's millions of coaches. I like the gap that you talked about. Dr. Bruce talks a lot about you can decide to live in that frustration gap, or you can decide to live in it as an opportunity.
Yep.
And oftentimes we're thinking about where we want to be, not where we've gone. So it's good to look in the rearview mirror. But sometimes that gap that you're in, it can be the opportunity at that time. So when I sit down and plan, and let me be very clear, I don't like planning. I don't like exercising. I don't like doing any of that stuff.
No.
But if I know that I just have to do it today and get it done with, then I know that afternoon or whatever, my head hits the pillows. I'm not David Goggins, right? I'm not like trying to make it so the 8 hours I sleep are the only joy I have in my life. That's not me. Not to say, I mean, that guy's a whole nother level. But listening to a podcast with him and Rogan the other day, it made me realize like everyone has a version of that. And if you're not in some sort of struggle, you're probably not challenging yourself to grow. Mm-hmm. And if you're in the gym and you're not having pain physically, your muscles aren't growing.
Right.
If you're in school or studying, or I'm not a school person, but I'm a big fan of education. If you're not challenging yourself, your brain's not growing. So we need to understand that part of this is understanding that we actually need a touch. My coach, Vinny, my strength coach, tells me all the time is that place between fear and success is this purgatory of uncomfortableness. And you got to touch that curtain every single day and push yourself just a little bit.
Yep.
And again, it's cliche. And until you experience it, it's kind of a bunch of bullshit. But once you experience it and you realize, all right, I've done this thing that I never thought I was going to be able to do. And maybe that's just the Sunday planning.
Yep.
I promise you're going to wake up Monday morning and feel significantly more proactive and effective than you ever have.
Absolutely.
And the good news and bad news is it starts over the next day.
Yep, exactly. Well, and one of the things that I've noticed is that, if you're pushing yourself, mentally, physically, in one area of your life, whether it's your business, to grow your business and you're getting out of your comfort zone there, or if it's in the gym and you're pushing through some boundary and breakthrough, you know what? If you're getting to that level of frustration and you think that you suck, and then you go past that a little bit and you find that other side, it's amazing how that transfers over to
100%.
All areas of your life.
Every single piece of it.
And so you're like, oh my gosh, I just bench pressed 355 pounds. Holy cow, I thought I was going to die, but I did it. And my gosh, now I think I can go shoot a video.
Right,
you know, so it's like, it's weird how your brain can, break things down and squish it all back together and use those same experiences to grow in other areas. And that's why people, when you see them, they just compound over and over and over and over. The more successes they get, the faster they get those successes, is because of that. The brain doesn't know the difference between whether it's a mental thing that you're pushing yourself past, whether it's a physical thing that you're pushing yourself back, or whether you're just imagining yourself pushing yourself past it, right? So those are the ways like you can really just grow, and as long as you're shooting for that growth and you're getting into that uncomfortable zone and then you're working past it instead of quitting, you're going to be an amazing, real estate
anything
agent.
you want to do. Yeah. And that's the mindset component that just about every time we chat, we come back to the mindset. So bringing it full circle for me, the mindset of planning is just that. I'm planning to do these things. This is my goal. I'm putting intention to it. I'm going to take it day by day. I'm going to look at these next 7 days, and this is what I plan to do. And I put that intention there. My mindset is this is what I'm going to do. And then every single day, I can look back at that and I can chart down. That's the other part, is write down your successes every day.
Yep.
Write down your failures every day and figure out what you need to improve on and take little bites. And for some people, that's putting your sneakers on and going for a walk in the morning for 10 minutes with your dog.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, it's making that one phone call. For some people, it's getting over the fear of understanding the contract better than anyone.
Yep.
Those 1% every day.
Absolutely.
1%. That's Atomic Habits, right? And,
Yep.
And again, there's people who've been writing and doing this stuff since the beginning of time. You can look back through Napoleon Hill, to all the greats, Zig Ziglar, everyone. They're all saying the same stuff. Ryan and I are not coming up with new concepts. We're just taking our experience and making it applicable to this day and age. So, I don't like to sit here and pretend that I invented all this stuff, but what I can do is I've implemented it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you from a kid that grew up with not a lot of things going his way, and not a whole lot of natural talent, just that work ethic and putting that 1% in every day. I feel like I've had a successful life, not anywhere close to where I want it to be.
Right.
And I'm always going to be pushing that and growing. And I hope that for everyone that's tuning in.
Absolutely. I do too. If you have any questions on how you want to grow your business or, work out your weekly planning or schedule your workouts or any of those things that you want to do, we're going to put a link down in the description where you can schedule a call with us, and we'll be more than happy to walk you through some of the systems and processes that we use to help plan our week.
And once again, pay it forward. If you found value in this and you think what we're doing, the time that we're putting out here is worth your time, forward it, send it along, text it to a friend that you think would make that difference in their life. That little 1% that you do may change their life moving forward.
All right. Thank you so much.